so close are starting to climb once again. Rule 1 have had a taste of greatness and are hungry for more. It's time to put the pen to the paper and write your own legacy.
A team that, yes, as you mentioned, came oh so close, and it's that long grind back that has gone through, of course, the wild card, and now it begins in the group stage against Rule 1. Ruas right on the attack. Killers is there again. The reigning MVP is not going to put one on target. It goes harmlessly across. Boston stuffed by Atomic, and so it's Rule 1 that is right in G2's face from the opening kickoff.
And I think a lot of people expected that.
Oh.
Ruas double straight down, no. Monster not able to get the follow-up. That's going to go all the way downfield. G2 catch Rule 1 a little too aggressive and make them pay.
Were they caught napsing there?
Come on, we're 30 seconds into the like 30 seconds.
They weren't napping much at all. They were just caught being a little too aggressive. Everybody went up. I mean, wide open double tap. You favor any player on this pitch to nail that. Rule 1 did not. And then Chicago misses just off the crossbar. So an inauspicious start on either side, but G2's got a goal out of it.
I like what some people on the desk were saying about, getting that strong start. Gibbs had mentioned momentum being the factor. A lot of people even outside of the desk have been talking about this matchup, saying that it's important to get a strong start if you're on the side of G2. We've seen teams like Power who've been able to get Rule 1 to match point early, but G2 is a squad that could finish the job if they get that strong lead. Rule 1 have plenty of time to battle back in game 1, but this was not the start they're looking for.
Hard to find a team in recent memory, going back to some of these lands, that has been more motivated than G2. I mean, you get as close as they did, and it's been a much different response this season from the last time they were in the World Championship, as Killers will have that ball right onto his hood, and he goes right at JNaps. Easy stop. Now Ruas is going to run out of juice, then JNaps goes underneath. Mawson there to challenge him. JNaps coming out of the corner. It goes off of Mawson back to Killers. And Rule 1 weather the early storm for now with just that one open net to their blemish.
It's been still good pressure though. Chicago trying to push that one on target. Good touch from Clears to be able to get that and also get a nice flick to push that into the middle of the field. Still, a lot of time in game 1. Rule 1 is going to get 5 shots. Oh, that was the 6th blocked out this time by Chicago. G2 only with 3. As they have been able to kind of keep this ball moving downfield. Rule 1 with the early pressure, but you can see just how much their rotations have changed as the game's gone on. Good touch from Chicago, forcing 2 out. G2 not going to be able to hold on to the ball, though.
Atomic puts the brakes on there, but it's Mawson dumping it back in. Right at JNaps again. They're going after JNaps. He is up to the task every time. Atomic has that taken away by Mawson, and Rule 1 get by Atomic, so it's only JNaps.
Good win.
Waterfall down, but nobody's there. Now Ruas a little bit late to the play. Killers is there as well. Now Mawson back up to the backboard, and this time Chicago has it. Big opportunity there missed by Rule 1, and how many more can you expect to get? Ruas trying to create one. JNaps stops that as well, and G2 continue to hold Rule 1 off the scoreboard.
I mean, Rule 1, they're doing a good job of keeping the control. Here's for a double. Ruas got it. And Rule 1, after so much pressure, finally showing up successful. This is a great pass, but it's really the first touch to set Ruas up for the follow-up, and he nails it.
2:04 to go, brand new ball game after the mistake from Rule 1 earlier. Ruas has more than made up for it for his squad. Here goes Killers with Ruas peeling off for boost, and it goes right in his direction. Atomic served it up for him. That could be deadly as Ruas by 1, and there is Chicago with the stop, and more importantly, to his teammate JNaps, and they will at least get out of defensive territory for the moment. Now back in. JNaps for Chicago, looking for another, and kind of a fake there, and Clears will have it.
I like the consistent pressure I'm seeing out of Rule 1. Here's Clears, good little 50. Ruas sitting there trying to get it off the corner, does do so. Mawson wanted to go for it, did, but just a little too far away from the ball. G2's been able to get this ball on the orange half, but they haven't been able to get that consistent pressure. And we noticed when G2 does is when they're most successful offensively. Also a big lack here in demos, but even though I say that, the number overall is 5. 3 for G2, 1 for Rule 1. As we approach the final minute of gameplay, JNaps gets a win, lower right corner, and G2 take the lead.
It's JNaps again, with Atomic winning the challenge at midfield, and now twice into an open net for JNaps and G2. They're not always going to come this easy, but while they are, G2 will take it.
Now the pressure is on Rule 1. Starting this one off here, or as we approach the final minute, down by 1, having to force the issue. They've got double the shots from G2, but G2 have been more effective in the offensive front. How will Rule 1 get past them when they have just so much stops against Rule 1?
Well, Ross has this with 45 seconds. He's got Mawson in behind him, but more importantly, Killer's up. And now Mawson got to scramble back because J-Naps is way up in the air. He had plenty to work with, but he had Mawson in his face. Atomic. Nobody on the other side of that. Chicago was way, way back. Mawson avoids him with 30 to go, but they just go back and forth, and obviously this favors G2 trying to hold this 1-goal lead in the final 20. Atomic drop down, no. Mawson in the way again, but Rule 1 can't get downfield if all they can do is defend right now.
Now a chance here for Rule 1 if they got to get things going here. Roas trying to line up the double. Monson, you see him on the wing. This ball floats in front of the box. Chicago gets a touch to the corner. Monson picks it up, trying to get that follow-up win on J-Naps, but the 50 holds strong. Final second, Chicago will ground it, and G2 will take game 1. Rule 1 started off with a lot of early aggression, but G2 battled back and made the most of their opportunities.
And it wasn't that they had to really put their nose down and grind for that win. They had at least one gift given to them. You could argue a second as well, and G2 kind of going to wipe their sweat off their foreheads and go, all right, we'll take that one. As we look back at the Mobile One High Performance Replay, it started with J-Naps scoring on an empty net, and spoiler alert, it's going to end with J-Naps scoring on an open net, but in between, you had that beauty from Roas that tied up the game until, well, Killers got beat at midfield, and that's the story of game number 1. Big numbers, of course, for J-Naps. We asked the question during the wildcard stage, is there a team, is there a player more motivated than G2 and J-Naps? And I still don't think we've had any change to that answer.
Yeah, it's been honestly amazing to see how well he's been performing. A lot of us have talked about J-Naps' shooting ability. He shot 100% that game. Also on the defensive end, getting 4 saves equal to Chicago's 4 for a total of 8 for G2. Knowing, again, just how motivated J-Naps is and just being able to see him perform when it matters the most for G2 in the wild card and to continue that performance in the world stage. I mean, there's no reason why so many people have been supporting G2 on the desk. Now they're in the lead of the series. For Ben Temple is the stage. Rule 1 have to try to bounce back. We've seen them continuously pressure G2, but it's the fact that they overextend that have been their biggest downfall so far.
Winner plays tomorrow. Loser has to fight for their World Championship life in front of a crowd, as Killers was just a little slow to that play. It goes off the crossbar, and J-Naps lost the plot. So now Killers all day to play this ball. He had plenty to work with in the tank, but just got a slow start. Now Roas, his own back wall. What is he going to do here with G2 ready to pounce? Got over Chicago, but Chicago got a piece of him. Now J-Naps going for goal and stopped again by Mawson.
Wow, look how far Chicago was. I mean, he was on the midfield line when that ball bounced out. G2 are not sending too many resources for it. They're giving up their half to Rule 1. They want to pull them out and again hit them with those strong counterattacks. You see Atomic gets a piece of the ball here. He wants to be able to pinch this midfield. He's going to take the corner boost, and you can see the boost totals there on Rule 1 starting to dwindle. They're in a tough spot. Chicago strikes. Atomic with the follow-up, but Mawson gets the block. Rule 1 stave off G2 for now.
Ross with the slow play there. The wave dash to get back into the play now. Killers trying to send it around. Oh, in front for Mawson and well defended by Chicago and G2 collectively. That was one of Rule 1's better opportunities, but that's gone by the wayside, and now they have to go back to the drawing board. That's going to sail high. Atomic's over there, but Killers will have it. He's got his brother right by his side, but he'll take the shot himself, and Atomic with the save.
Good control from G2. Not giving up too much here. They've actually outshot Rule 1, which is way different from what we saw in the early parts of the game. Rule 1 also not giving too many resources forward. They understand sometimes they have consistent offensive pressure, but you can see that both teams getting a solid read. Another shot there from Chicago, blocked out again, and it's Rule 1 who have 7 saves in the first 2 minutes.
And Killers will peel off over Ross, but it's Mawson that has to play that instead from the wall. Now Killers shot, nothing behind it at all, so Atomic's got an easy save. And that's kind of been the theme so far for G2. When Rule 1 have tested them, it hasn't been much of a test. There hasn't been a lot of pace behind these shots. Ross could run into one here as he just missed the second touch. Now Killers, nobody else to pass to, so he'll have to slow play, and Chicago will not afford him any time.
You see him, he has to peel off that. He wanted to go for it so bad, but it just was all Chicago's ball. Here's Roas, good chain dash to get there, trying to pitch it across. It does go across. Moss will play it off the back wall. Killers is there, but not anything too much that he could work with. Good control, but Atomic on the back wall has that ball read, and even though he's low on boost, still able to get a 50. J-Nap's up, but not quick enough. Chicago in a tough spot, but still got the touch out, and it's still a scoreless game.
Oh, here goes the MVP, but he had nothing in the tank. He ran out. Now Mostyn trying to set up Roas. And who's going to cycle in? Because he's going to need some help. It's Killers, but it's deflected high. And J-Naps needs a second touch. He's got it and a third to go with it, but it's coming right back into the G2 half. This is what Rule 1 needs to do, kind of break down the G2 defense. They just have not had much success doing so. J-Naps, good pass, great shot, and Atomic's got G2 in the lead.
It's the speed test, and G2 were that much faster. J-Naps with the first touch, you see Killers on the wall, he beats him out. Atomic beats out Mostyn at the perfect time to put it into the top left corner, and G2 set the tone once again.
It took a lot longer this time, but G2 have the opening goal, and J-Nap's gonna make a little quick improv play to get to this ball, but now Edwards falls down, and Roas is right there. And just like in game 1, Rule 1 answer.
I mean, you see this here from Atomic, low on boost, wants to see if he has enough time to go up the wall, but the ball drops down way faster than he can get to it, and it's just an open look for Rule 1. Striking quickly right after the kickoff, G2 have to make sure they're able to protect the ball early.
Into the final 90 seconds of regulation. Both teams very successful in overtime during their respective regular seasons. Both around 70 or 60% in OT. Now J-Naps falling back, needs another, and he's got it. But Roas right there, indirect for himself. And that shot easily set off by Atomic. Well, look out for Atomic. He was up there, but now with a minute to go. Something's got to give here between two teams that have not had much between them so far in the early series. Atomic indirect, can't follow it up, he's demolished. J-Naps now with Atomic respawning to his left. What can he do with it? Chicago jumps in, rolls it away, and G2 content to force Rule 1 into a mistake deep in their own territory.
Atomic trying to follow this up, ball gets away from him, so as he runs out of boost, just wants to play the 50, try to see if he can get a disturbance. Rule 1 remain patient, and they also are looking for a prime opportunity to move upfield. Hasn't been too successful for both sides. They've been letting a lot of things slip, and you've also been able to see a couple of miscommunications, but as the clock ticks down, there's a chance for someone to come and steal the game.
Oh, Roas, he's got Killers behind him, but he had to peel back because Atomic had a clean win. Final countdown of game 2. Here goes Naps for Chicago, intercepted by Roas. This will stay up for a moment, and it could be dangerous. Out in front. Killers will take it, but he's got nobody to pass to. No way he keeps this up, but Chicago did. Mostyn's shot hits the ground, and we go to overtime, and that was a lot closer than it needed to be.
You're absolutely right. I mean, you saw that touch out from G2 towards the end. Did not need to do that at all. Atomic, though, trying to end the game, and no! Blocked away by Roas. Great start off the kickoff from G2. Still trying to keep this ball under pressure, but Mostyn, solid control, looking to move upfield.
Through all events this season, G2 about 60%, but on the other side, Rule 1, 69.81 in overtime. Who will blink? Oh, Roas got it to the backboard. Killers was there, and J-Nap sweeps across.
Atomic's able to pick up that corner, but he's going to be out to play. Chicago has to get a good touch here. Won't be able to get a follow-up, though, and it's going to be a free ball. Clears, moves this to midfield. Roas went for it. Mostyn trying to keep this one in play. They are keeping that ball in G2's half no matter what. That one pulls out a few. This one goes off the ceiling. Follow-up shot is denied. Atomic's going to be able to get there in time and get the clearance.
Yeah, that wave dash by Atomic sprung him downfield, and it forced Rule 1 all the way back. There goes Killers now. Doesn't have any teammates to pass to, so J-Naps will take it away. Who does it fall to in midfield? It's Atomic. Ran into one, sailed it high, and Roas has it. And over to his brother. Mostyn to his left. Another one lobbed forward, and this will fall down into a dangerous spot. but not where Mawson was headed, and G2 get away with it again.
Mawson was in position, but I don't think he believed that both members of G2 would miss that play. Now this ball sitting in the blue half, and as the speed increases, the mistakes do as well on both sides.
Roas for killers, and a little bit of twin magic gives Rule 1 their first win in the series.
I like this though from Roas. He's reading the ball. He knows Chicago's going to play it across, plays it off the corner. Chicago no boost. Putting his hand up was just a formality at that point. Clears had that one all day long. And Rule 1 able to strike back here in Game 2. The pressure finally paying off.
So 2-1 victories either way, but it's Rule 1 that comes in overtime and ties up this series. Plenty of opportunities to go around, and I think plenty of opportunity for both these teams, Daz, to kind of look back at that game and go, how'd we lose this?
Yeah, we'll take a look at the highlights again, but you won't be able to see some of the lowlights. I mean, of course, Atomic in a tough spot there. That one was right off the kickoff, but there were just a couple of chances for either side to be able to finish this one early, and no one able to do so except Rule 1 towards the end. You take a look at the stats. I'll do the numbers on the Rule 1 side. 11 shots and 11 saves. G2 at 13 with 5 saves, and it only goes to show you just how up and down the field Rule 1 was that entire game. Back and forth and back and forth.
You scored 2 goals from 11 shots and only 5 had saves. Yeah, that tells you, first of all, put the shot on target more than anything else. There you see, Killers, the MENA MVP. Only, what, 5 minutes older than his brother?
Yeah, it makes a difference.
It does. Had it been the other way around, Ross probably the MVP. Now we get ready for game number 3. G2, Rule 1. It hasn't had that big fight feel coming out of it, right? I mean, I think it's fair to say it's been a little sloppy with some missed opportunity.
Right.
Something's got to give, though. The first team that capitalizes on all the chances they've been afforded is going to have a massive advantage. Could be G2 as they're on the early attack. JNAP, second touch, no, and Killers will have it away towards Roas, intercepted by Atomic.
Both teams have had a couple of games now, and you're expecting to see whoever cleans their act up the most to be the more successful here, as they've been trading blow for blow. JNAPs, though, tried to get a good 50 there. Atomic way out, will end up getting a touch towards the back wall. Chicago will test the defense, but Rule 1 very close to the ball and making it very hard for G2, at least in the air, to be successful. Rule 1 have tested the backboard a lot this series, and G2's also been available for that as well. Just kind of forcing everyone to be a little bit more creative.
Chicago brought it to ground. JNAP's running forward, and had he been 5 seconds faster, it's a 1-0 game. Atomic will try his luck. Mawson in the way, and Killers there as a contingency plan. He jumps up again and will stop JNAPs. Chicago doing all he can to play keep away from Rule 1. And
he got it!
He got it to JNAPs, and G2 leads.
And we saw it from JNAPs' perspective. He was waiting and trusting Chicago to get that one through, and boy did he. Last second touch. JNAPs available. The sniper's gonna hit the target every time.
4 goals for G2 in the series. JNAPs has 3 of them, and he's cheating up on the kickoff here. Atomic just barely winning the race to the midfield boost, but it's Killers that has it popped away. Not the cleanest touch, and G2 are able to just delay a little bit more. JNAPs off a deflection over towards Chicago, and it's Killers with the clear. Mawson's still way downfield, but Zen he is not, and it does not find him.
Ball doesn't get there. Good cut out there from G2. Rule 1 having to take the ball time and time again from their own goal line. We haven't seen them really press G2 defensively since the opener here. G2 have been enjoying that comfortability. Infield pass to clears. That one blocked out by JNAPs. Atomic will take this one. No, he actually won't. He's at a boost. So he says he'll opt to leave that for JNAPs. We'll get a 50 out in front, and Atomic was the one who took the mid boost. He'll be needed here in a moment, as you can see Rule 1 still trying to march themselves upfield, but G2 playing it away every time.
Somebody's got to take charge sooner or later for Rule 1. Roas bounces it right to Killers. And then that missed second touch, maybe trying to freeze the G2 defense a little bit. it might have worked to some extent, but not to the extent they would have liked. Here goes JNAPS quickly back the other way, and just could not get Killers. Ruas gets bumped from behind, though, by JNAPS coming out, but here he goes. That actually sprung him downfield. It leaves Chicago as the lone man back to try and defend it.
He can get this.
And he got the ground pitch, and JNAPS will score the other way. Just too late respawning off the demo.
Row 1 thought they had G2 out, but it was really G2 who turned the tables. Demo on the play to set up a lane, and JNAPS with a good follow-up ground pinch right in. G2 have seen Rule 1 start to switch up the game plan. We saw them trying to get more physical, looking for demos, but G2 able to adjust, and now they're in proper control of Game 3, looking for another one as Atomic puts on the shot, but this one will go the other way.
2-0 the lead as Chicago will bounce it back into the zone. Mawson giving chase. He's got Atomic to deal with. Right in front for Ruas. Mawson up. He's got options. Sent one netward instead of dropping down for a pass. And here comes Atomic. Here comes G2 with that 2-goal lead. Looking to maybe put it away, and Mawson with the save. Not out of the woods just yet, though, as he's got it out towards Ruas. That's a clean win. Killers is downfield, but Chicago up way ahead of time, and Atomic should have this all day. He does after he avoids contact. Mawson, though, again stopped by Atomic, putting in all the work right now. And how great has Atomic been throughout the wild card and now in this series, not just offensively, but defensively as well. He wasn't as great as he needed to be there as Mawson scores.
And look at this one from Mawson, though. You're seeing JNAPS there on the corner trying to get there early as he knew the pass was coming out from Ruas. And we talked about the speed from Atomic, too slow there. Mawson with a good beat, puts it in the net, makes this one playable for Rule 1. They got 1:15 to try to equalize.
Gotta be asking his teammates for some help there on the defensive end. They hung him out to dry. And that goes backwards. So yeah, okay, Atomic, let's see how good you are defensively. It goes right back to him. And now Killers with the intercept. He's got Mawson over there to the right, but again, taken by Atomic. He's just, are there two Atomics out there? He is everywhere.
Yeah, it feels like it. See, also, I mean, Chicago's trying to go for some off-ball plays. He's moving downfield looking for a bump on Ruas. This one going back to JNAPS. He gets demo, but gets it off the back wall. Dangerous there for Rule 1. Everybody goes up. They don't get punished by G2. Chicago is still recovering. And now Atomic plays it off the back wall. Still, so much pressure. Rule 1 gets some breathing room for the time being, but you see it on the screen. 30 seconds remaining. They got to get going.
Oh, Killers line one up, and Atomic has the save. Who's got the follow? It's Chicago with the save. And Atomic will bring it out of the zone, dashing down the field. Couldn't get the flip reset, but Chicago dumps it right back in with 13 seconds and counting. Killers now gonna break out of the zone. That corner boost was not there for him. Ruas blocked, but it falls to Mawson, who is demolished by JNAPS. This should come to ground. JNAPS holds all the cards, and he'll let it fall. G2 back in front.
Back in front. Once they got in front, it just felt like Rule 1 had so much of a hard time to try to get into the game. G2 able to adjust. They dodged so many potential demo opportunities from Rule 1 in the back end, and not only that, they would turn it around. I mean, we saw one of the goals they scored from G2. It always felt like somebody from Rule 1 on the defensive end, or I mean, when they were up in front, that third man back was always taking out the play. This one, though, was solid in the highlights there with Chicago's pass to JNAPS to start things off, and then G2 continue to build. And it's been really tough for Rule 1 to find really an answer here.
Yeah, that part of a 10-shot barrage, and they threatened to add a lot more to it. That pass from Ruas to Mawson, the only strike for Rule 1. All three games so far have been a 2-1 scoreline. That is our series scoreline, with G2 halfway to advancing to a date with Gen G in the upper bracket tomorrow.
I was watching here, but I don't think we have a timeout. That was what I was waiting on.
No, we do not have a timeout here. Rule 1 opting to hold that in their pocket going into a potential match point situation. So down 2 games to 1, we go to Utopia, game 4. Rule 1 trying to bounce back. They certainly haven't been outclassed in this series. Nobody has outclassed the other. They've been very evenly matched. They've both equally squandered a fair number of opportunities, and Killers couldn't get that one guided back in towards the net. So that's how game 4 begins with G2 under the gun.
I feel like this would be very interesting if Rule 1 dropped this. G2 would be up 3-1 in the series. And the way they're playing, it doesn't feel like they would drop that at all. But Rule 1 sticking to keeping their timeout. We'll see how that ends up working out for them. Right now, they're continuing to play on. And you're right, it has been close. There have been definitely chances from both sides, and there's also been sloppy play on both sides. G2 has just been that much more consistent, which is why they've been so successful. Infield pass, getting blocked out here. JNAP 0 boost and under no pressure. He's able to clear that all the way to Atomic to get this play started.
And this is still netward, and Mawson's gonna scramble to just get there. Nobody could have expected that ball to end up there. This one, however, could, but JNAP's hit it off the crossbar. There's Roas in transition, and Chicago with the save. He falls into his own net, and then watches his teammates clear. It's Atomic. Flip reset to win the challenge, but Killers is right there, and he gets through Chicago. The pinch past JNAP's, but well wide.
Yeah, well wide. JNAP's able to get the recovery, but again, there's the mistakes. You saw the triple commit on the goal line there for Rule 1. On the side of G2, you're seeing sometimes a little bit too far forward. It could have been a call out for a goal. Still scoreless. Pass play here. The Twins connect, but the ball goes off the back wall straight to G2.
Chicago to Atomic. It looked like it might have even been planning a 3-man play there, but nothing doing from it as the ball just bounces around harmlessly at midfield, deflected away, and brought right back in by Atomic. No infield pass. Instead, he went headhunting and almost got contact, but here comes Rule 1 now. Still scoreless, but for how much longer? Rebound opportunity if Atomic didn't have it, and now it's Chicago away. Over 1, try to get around another off the back wall, and that's well defended by Mawson.
Some of these plays, it feels like G2 probably should be up a goal or so, at least in this game, but they haven't necessarily been in the right spot. They've been giving a lot of respect and space to Rule 1. We'll see if that comes back to bite them.
Only the one shot on target officially. It came from JNAPS as we get to the halfway mark of game 4. Rule 1 have had the greater quantity of chances. The quality, not there really on either side. Roas for Mawson. Waiting for Chicago to play it away, conceding the corner boost to him. And now Killers will have to come up, and it's just a late challenge on Atomic, so Mawson is left to defend at his back line. Atomic just wreaking all sorts of havoc, and it's almost in! Still
Chicago?
on the goal line, and
Thank you.
Chicago slams it home at the end.
I mean, you got to give it up to Atomic for initially setting up this play. So effective at getting the ball downfield. It's so close. JNAPS is just in the net watching the ball bounce in and out. And it is Chicago who has to finish the job, but the job does get finished. G2, again, have set the tone. They've done that multiple times throughout this series, and now Rule 1 is such a tough spot. It's been very hard for them to play from behind.
Rule 1 have been giving G2 an awful lot of time and space to play these balls at midfield. They haven't aggressively gone after challenges that have gone neutral. Like this one, perhaps as Roas shot goes wide.
Yeah, I want to talk about that more too. I mean, you cannot give a player like Atomic that much freedom. He has already excelled at defenses that give him high pressure. You're telling me you're going to give him space to just create? That's always going to be a recipe for disaster. So far, G2 with the lead here, looking to extend it by keeping this ball in the orange half. Gimmo's on the back end though, and Clears trying to get the flick though, delays it. Wanted to look for the bump there as well, as Rule 1 trying to take some field positioning.
Trying to win the mechanical battle here is Rule 1. Try to get into these one-on-one situations. Maybe you add an infield pass in there, but otherwise, kind of generic. JNAPS, second touch needed. Instead, Chicago comes in to bail him out. That serve by Atomic wasn't the greatest, as Mawson will bring it back in. Still potentially available, so Chicago's got to be careful. It still goes towards the wing. Killer's got it through, and Roas denied by Atomic. Where's Mawson? There he is. And nothing behind that shot at all, just kind of feathered it down into the G2 defense.
But still a chance here. Rule 1 still looking to connect and pass plays in transition. G2 though, doing a good job of cutting them out. And not only that, keeping this ball on the orange end. Gonna kill so much time on the clock.
30 seconds now as Atomic will bail out, and it's Mawson to take over. He's got Killers there waiting for him, but well done by Chicago, I guess, to get it back towards JNAPS, and you can see Roas starting to get a little anxious in the net. Mawson now gave it back to Atomic and took it right back. 7 seconds remaining.
Cross up.
Oh, he's a fake, and the shot blocked away by Chicago, down to 2 seconds. Now no time on the clock. Ball going the wrong way for Rule 1, and G2 closing in on reaching match point. Triple match point, in fact, but they've got to defend against this man. He's lethal. So too is Mawson. Try to keep it in the air. Killers is lurking, and Roas made the decision at about the last possible second. He realized Chicago was going to let it drop, but just a little too late. And Rule 1 again denied at 0 seconds, and G2 barely hangs on. 3 shots to close it out.
Yeah, Rule 1 trying to get things going a little too late here. You can see G2 just knowing, okay, we have the clock, we understand where the situation is. Let's try to work around that. So again, we take a look at the Mobile One high performance replay, but a 1-goal game here between these two teams. And again, not too much offense from G2. Only 3 shots for them. They don't need to have consistent pressure. They recognize that. They just need to hit their opportunities when they are afraid. See that side from Chicago. G2 now in a match point situation. Rule 1 backs against the wall here in the upper bracket, and now we get that timeout.
What else is new? 1-goal games between these two teams. Chicago relieved with another 1-goal victory. I mean, G2 have played a lot of close games here in Germany, not just during the wild card, but now in the World Championship main event. And it's one thing to have the level of success they had in the, the 9 to 24 bracket, but to do it now with the actual top 8 brought in and the level goes up just a little bit more, G2 has had to elevate themselves, and so far it's working. But they still have to close out Rule 1, and we're still, I gotta say, yet to see the best out of this MENA squad. We know how good they can be. We saw it just a month ago in Boston. We need that Rule 1 to show up if this has any chance of leaving the Oasis.
It feels like it feels like they're uncomfortable though. That's the biggest thing. Even on some of their individual plays, I like the idea of what we saw towards the end with the Roas fake challenge to set up the shot. But if they're a little bit closer and not doing it from the midfield line, I think it's so much more successful. They probably could have gotten away with that one. G2 has been doing a good job of just getting the ball to each other when they clear it out, and then of course Rule 1's also been giving them that space as well.
I can't believe I'm saying this, but Rule 1 have to be faster.
Yeah.
Which that's their calling card, being faster than everybody else. But G2 have matched that and exceeded that at times. Not by a wide margin, but they've got to find an answer here. Otherwise, Rule 1 drops down to the lower bracket, and they'll join Twisted Minds there. Here goes Atomic through Mawson, and J-Naps will try to get G2 off on the right foot in a closeout opportunity. It is Atomic for Chicago. Back to Atomic, and it goes wayward, but still on the attack with that demolition by Chicago. It goes all the way across. More boost stolen away from the Rule 1 end. G2 are not going to give them any quarter whatsoever.
Yeah, I mean, even during that timeout, you saw Safi with just going off basically, and knowing that G2 haven't played the best Rocket League either. I mean, that timeout almost kind of benefited both teams.
Yeah. Well, you're always going to have a match like that too in a tournament like this, whether it's the wild card and the main event, or you're here for just one of them. You've got to win the games where you're not at your best, and G2 have been good enough as that drops down. Timely demolition, though. Mawson's not going to catch up to this, but nobody else diving. Oh, no! Ross was there! It didn't look like anybody was going to dive in time because they were so low on boost. I mean, look at them. They had maybe a dozen between them, and then Ross just got there to stop Atomic's clearance.
Yeah, and you saw Atomic just the panic, recognizing how close he is to the ball and almost own goaling. Ball gets away from him, ends up playing it right into Roas, and Rule 1 finally with the first goal here in Game 5.
Wonder if they will throw caution to the wind a little bit more and be just a little bit more aggressive and give G2 something else to think about. Mawson was creeping up. Killers is right there. Mawson with the full tank. He'll wait back, and he may have to turn on this. He does, and J-Naps taken off the field, so Mawson can use that boost if he chooses, or just save it for a rainy day. Here goes Killers now.
Nice touch out from Roas. You see J-Naps Playing this one towards Rojas, but not necessarily going for that follow-up. This one, though, Demo in the back end. Chicago with the turn, gets the fake, but can't get this ball center. It'll go around the goal line, and Atomic here will try to pick it up. Could have been a chance for G2 to equalize, and now they're trying to keep this one in play. Chicago will get the double into the corner, but it's past JNaps. Atomic will keep this one in the orange side, but that corner play, perfect amount of time for Rule 1 to get back set. They have to stop G2 once again. JNaps trying to get around the whole team, but it is sent to Chicago. He's gonna go off the ceiling, gets that one past one. Atomic went for it, but came up empty.
Well, that pinballed around, and maybe fortunate that it was blocked back into the zone. JNaps now challenging Ruas. Good luck. Now Killers gonna take this himself. A little slow play to get around Atomic, but Chicago's there for the follow-up, and that's kind of the difference. You know, G2 slow play, nobody's there to follow up for Rule 1, or they historically have not been in this series, but G2 have been sending another man up in support for those challenges.
Rule 1, clearance for the ball, but giving it to G2 with space. Atomic, though, no boost, so he's gonna try to see if he can make some disruptions happen upfield. Rule 1 seemed pretty set so far. G2 trying to knock on the door. Atomic won't be able to get that one for free. Rojas is there, recognizing the danger. Good win on the 50 for G2, but again, that one not the best first touch for JNaps. Gets cleared all the way downfield, and G2 have to make a goal line save.
The thing about Rule 1, waiting as long as they did to call that timeout. Teams are 0-14 in series on land when they call a timeout at 1-3. Rule 1 trying to turn that trend. They've got a long road back. They're off on the right start. Ruas brought back in. Mawson with Atomic lurking. He might have been a little too aware of Atomic as he maybe took his eye off the ball. Now it's Mawson again. He makes good on this challenge. And the second touch hammers it away. But Chicago right there. Now it's Killers. Straight to Atomic across to JNaps. Three-man play intercepted by Mawson at the end.
And Rule 1 putting up a wall right now in front of G2. G2 have been trying to increase their output, and even though it feels like they've had a lot of pressure, the shooting here is tied between both teams. Good fake over one. Infield pass to Rojas, trying to get a top right, but couldn't finish. Chicago gets the clearance, and it's still a one-goal game with a minute left. Now G2 want to start the counterattack. Ball to Atomic, gets that one through. Kalir's in a tough spot, but will not get it past JNaps. And Chicago up first. G2 wanting to keep this play alive as we approach the final minute. They know that if Rule 1 able to get another clear out, they could manage this clock all the way down to the final second.
How did that not go in? They're going to be kicking themselves if G2 tie this game, and it almost seems inevitable. JNaps from Chicago to the backboard. Chicago blocked by Kalir's. Now 24 seconds. Atomic quickly to the back wall. Out low. Chicago's got it, and that missed opportunity comes back to haunt Rule 1.
Oh man, Rojas was trying to see if he could get the ball or the boost. Mawson not set, and G2 continue to push. Late pressure paying off now. Anybody's ball game. G2 could close out the series right here.
You get that same hopeless feeling a crowd gets when, hey, they might beat Roman Reigns now. No. Here we go again. JNaps over to Atomic. Blocked down. Ruas has a chance.
Atomic in danger.
Not downward, though, and a shot's going to bounce high, and we are bound for overtime unless G2 have a heartbreaking attack at the end. Ruas with the save. JNaps not content to wait for OT, though. He'll bring it down. This will touch ground, and we'll have sudden death to try and keep Rule 1 alive.
After everything Rule 1 did to hold on and maintain that one goal lead, they let it slip in the final seconds. Can they turn things around and start getting it going offensively? Or will G2 end it here? Atomic, no! Blocked away by Mawson.
Not out of it, though. JNaps all the way across. Nobody on the weak side, so Ross will clear it away. He's got Mawson up just a little too late. Atomic now gives it away to Ross. JNaps has to make sure to grab the corner boost. He's got it, and a big, powerful clear by Chicago forces Killers and Mawson to work as a team. Now Atomic through the center, and Ruas beaten by Chicago. G2 takes down Rule 1.
G2 end up showing up and showing out there, able to carry things from the wild card into the main event. And with this newfound look, they are testing even the strongest teams, including Rule 1 here and now. Wow, 4-1 victory. You thought that, hey, Rule 1 struck first there in Game 5. Maybe they were able to continue the pace. But as you look back, G2 just that much faster and that much more deadly when they're on the offensive front.
T-Bate started the day going, oh no! Well, he's saying, oh yes, now, as his squad, kind of his squad, G2, the new machine, are through in the upper bracket. They'll play tomorrow. It'll be Bates versus DeBab with G2 and Gen G doing battle for a spot in the playoffs. Boy, it's going to be real hot and spicy tomorrow, but we'll look back at the highlight reel. Our Mobile One high performance replay, and it was high performance at least on one side. G2 brought it, and they had the ice when it counted, Daz.
Yeah, you're right. Even though we talked about how shaky this series looked from both sides, you ended up seeing G2 with just that clutch factor. And that's what you need here at the Rocket League World Championship.
So we say goodbye to Rule 1 in the upper bracket, and we'll say hello to Leaf, standing by with the victorious G2 squad.
North America again coming out strong as G2 shut down Rule 1 with a victory. JNAPS is with me. Congratulations on the win. You guys looked fairly confident out there. I mean, even backs against the wall in the final game, you still clutch up.
Yeah, we're just sticking to our game plan that we've been practicing. We were here for boot camp, and we've been going the hardest we have all year, so we're feeling confident.
Obviously, I think a lot of teams have realized how important the boot camps are for you guys. It's, I assume, probably a pretty critical element into success.
It has been, and like these past few weeks before the boot camp, we haven't been getting the best practice because I had some personal life issues, but we went back on the grind, and it's been like we've been doing good ever since, and scrims have been really good, so just trying to keep that going.
Yeah, I didn't want to touch too much, but I want to say, obviously, you've had a tough summer leading up to this. How important as the teammates and everyone, the support family and that, been behind, and Rocket League in general, to keep you focused in on this? Because I imagine it's been difficult.
Yeah, I think like the support from everyone, like friends, family, and the Rocket League community has just been amazing. Like I didn't realize how many people have my back in tough times, so it's a great feeling to know that you're supported in many facets, so it's feeling.
I think that's what's really cool about Rocket League is really when we come here, it's a lot of friends. We'll yell at each other across it, but a lot of us are always just hanging out and having fun together. So it's always fun to be back in this. But getting into your matches, I'm sure you get the game face on. How serious do you get when it comes to the matches, or is there a lightheartedness? I feel like you guys stay pretty focused.
There's definitely always like a lightheartedness, but I think like me especially, I'm pretty like stone cold face. Yeah. I'm always just like
in the zone.
Before our match, I'm just locked into the monitor. But yeah, I think for me especially, I'm just like trying to get my head into the game as soon as possible, and usually it's being a stone face.
Being a rock, just sitting there. Hey, you did a lot of work there. You were far from a rock. But I want to ask now, this is interesting tidbit. Maybe it'll hurt to bring it up here, but you are the last of the 90s kids, I believe here. JNAPS is our resident grandpa. How does it, have you seen changes? Let me say, how does it feel to be old? Are there any changes you've seen as the new generation comes up through the ranks that you're now playing against as well?
I'd say like the biggest change is like there's more international teams and players. Like it used to just be NAEU, and then OC kind of got thrown into the mix, but now it's just like we have so many regions and new players and teams. I feel like it's gotten younger as well. Like there really isn't that many old pros like still competing at the top, so it feels good. Me and Chicago are still up there, so it feels good holding the torch.
I mean, it's got to be, because you guys are still looking real good out there. And one final thing, is there any extra pressure knowing that you're the only Canadian player left to represent in the entirety of Worlds?
I wouldn't say that's like where the pressure comes from. I'd say the pressure's more like I've lost 2 World Championship finals, so I really want to get that win, and that's like where most of the pressure is coming from.
Yeah, okay. Sorry, I know we got to go to break, but there's one last thing on that, because obviously you two have made 2 now. It's a very rare thing to do to make grand finals. Is that way at the back of the mind a lot, or is it game-by-game focus, or are you looking forward?
Honestly, I just want to make it there first, and when we make it there, we can try to get over the finish line. But right now, it's like the hardest season it's ever been, so we just want to make it to the finals, and then we can worry about winning when we get there.
Sorry, finally had a Canadian with me here, so I had to make the most of it. We got to go to the break. We got a lot more matches.